TA with MK. It's TA with MK. Welcome back to TA with MK. My name is McKay. Just want to give you a quick market update and a few coins I'm watching. Let's go. All right, we'll start out with the daily chart. Not a whole lot going on. Bitcoin has been more or less boring recently. I mean, we've had some little pumps and some little dumps, but in the grand scheme of things, it's been going sideways. I've drawn a new trend line that's not necessarily super valid. I don't put a ton of weight on any one trend line anyway. I use these levels of these zones of support and resistance. To me are the strongest areas to expect bounces or pullbacks. However, you can use them in confluence with, moving averages. Those are also very strong. And of course, trend lines and patterns. I am a pattern trader. However, I use them in confluence with price levels. So I don't really put a ton of weight just on one trend line. That being said, you can kind of see here that Bitcoin, of course, rejected up here, rejected here, recently rejected here. You could make the case that this was a bull trap or a fake out, but obviously that's where this red zone of major resistance at this point came into play. So it just essentially got rejected at the same resistance level as this, creating a double top. And this bottom trend line only has two touches with these two wicks. So again, not a real valid trend line. The biggest thing with this trend line that we've been tracking on the channel is just that it put in a low here. This is a higher low. Recently, it did put in a higher low again. However, where it's getting rejected now, what I would like to see is for it to come back down here and either retest like 37,000. It could even push a little bit lower back into like the 36.5 area and then see a bounce. We are at my mid-range of this big yellow box, so we could see a bounce now. I just don't know that we'd get a whole lot out of it, because I do think that we just keep putting in kind of lower highs. So at some point in the near future, we are going to have what we would call decision time. Because this is, I'm not saying this triangle is the most valid triangle, but essentially, anytime you have price action putting in higher lows, that's bullish from that perspective. But when it's putting in lower highs at the same time, it's essentially consolidating. It's coiling up to do something. It's the market being indecisive that's what creates this pattern to begin with. And so we'll just kind of wait and see what more news comes out over the coming days. But something should be coming from Bitcoin over the next, I would say, 24 to 48 hours. So we'll keep an eye on it. Now I want to be very upfront in saying that I 150% support anybody that has a HODL strategy. As long as it's a responsible and thought out HODL strategy. And what I mean by that is DCAing in at key levels of support over time. I'm not saying recklessly just buying and HODLing, but actually having a plan. I really do believe in this space. It's the easiest way to long-term make money, especially if you're finding, researching the strongest coins, etc. That being said, it's amazing that in crypto you can make money going both ways. So if that's something that interests you, I wouldn't recommend jumping into leverage trading. I honestly don't leverage trade at all anymore. I have in the past, been wrecked a few times. I've had some success as well, but I just don't feel like the risk to reward for me personally is great. I know there are people out there that have a ton of success with it. I just find it a little easier to risk manage DCing into positions. However, KUCOIN, now there's a link in the description, but KUCOIN offers 3S or 3 short tokens on quite a few coins. And so if the market's going or looking like it could potentially pull back, I chart those coins as well, because you can't be liquidated on them, but they represent a higher risk, higher reward on, pullbacks basically. So just want to introduce a couple of those concepts to you in this video, because going forward, depending on what Bitcoin's doing, I will show you a couple of setups that I'm tracking both directions. Now we're a little more than an hour from the daily close at the time of me making this. By the time I get it posted, the daily close will probably already have happened. Now I see Bitcoin's at 39,450. I know 39,500 is a major level of, emphasis for a lot of people. I'm sure the market would love to see this close above that. I'm kind of funny in the way that I'd almost rather see it close below it, because I feel like if it closes above it, that's probably just setting up for a fake out. People will get bullish, and then it will actually, dump below it after that. I would rather see it close somewhere down here around like 38,700, something like that. I think that gives it more potential to actually be a bear trap. These are all just short term, obviously, but sometimes a matter of $100 can change sentiment in a hurry. All right, enough blabbing. Let's jump into these two bullish coins real quick. This is QTUM, QTUM. And I just like the structure of it. Obviously, from a zoomed out perspective on this daily chart, it's put in a huge double bottom. But even then, within this first double bottom, it had a smaller double bottom that led, this is kind of almost like it was in a falling wedge as well, and it was able to break out and put in 180% pump. Now, I'm not expecting that. Market sentiment and everything was just different then, but structurally, this looks like it's doing something similar. It's got this smaller double bottom inside of a wedge. What I'd be looking for is either a breakout and a retest of this level here at around 550 for entry, or a break above this red zone and a retest of that zone at around like 680. Now, DCA wise, what I would probably do, or what I will likely do, is I have alerts set at all these levels, but if it breaks out, this would be where I would enter with my first 15%, and then we would just go from there. As always, remember, nothing I say in this video is financial advice. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing and some of the things that I may be potentially entering or coins that I'm tracking. Now, this one is EGLD. I posted this in my Telegram group earlier. It's actually already moved up some since then, but this is a coin that I've previously mentioned. This one structurally just looks awesome to me. I love when coins have structure that kind of mirrors or looks like it's duplicating something it's done in the past. And what I mean by that is EGLD back here, it had this trend line that was acting as resistance, and then down here at this zone of support, it bounced first at the bottom, broke out of the wedge, came back, retested the top of the zone, put in a higher low, and then proceeded to go on a pretty good run. This time around, same thing. It's got this trend line that was acting as resistance. Here at the bottom of this zone, it bounced, broke out of the wedge, came back, retested the trend line and the top of this strongest support buy zone that I have indicated here in green. And now it's just kind of been consolidating sideways. It's in my aggressive entry zone. I did enter at 142 something. I'll update you guys tomorrow. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the exact entry, but it was about an hour and a half ago. 15% though is all. And so we're kind of tracking that. What I would be looking for now is either a pullback to DCA more in at this stronger level of support if Bitcoin, pulls back somewhere between, 120 and 125-ish. Would be a good entry. Otherwise, I'm looking for it to break above this yellow aggressive zone and come back, and I may DCA a little bit more in above 150. I also wanted to quickly mention before I show you my 3S short token that I'm tracking for the day, that this is the Bitcoin Dominance daily chart. This is one of the biggest charts I'm watching really closely right now to decide what direction I want to trade. More, midtermish. And what I mean, I don't know if midterm is the right word, but more for the next few days, is right now it's got this trend line overhead. And it's in this little rising channel just below what should act as resistance, which is this trend line. If it can get rejected here and break lower out of this rising channel, then that should be good altcoin long trading. Because as you guys know, I've mentioned every day on the channel, if Bitcoin dominance is going up, that's bad for altcoins. And when it's going down, that's genuinely good for altcoins. So right now, we're just kind of watching this closely, because if this was to break out of this trend line and retest and start heading this way, then that's going to be bad for altcoins, and I'm going to be focused more on my 3S short tokens, right? And the 3S token on KUCOIN, or the short token that I'm tracking that I want to share with you, is the Axis token, AXS. Now, the way these tokens work is just like any regular chart, as far as if on the chart it's going up, when you entered, you're making money, and if it's going down, you're losing money. But basically, on this chart, if the price action is going up, that means that the actual price of AXS is going down, if that makes sense, and vice versa. So right now, this is in this rising channel below this major trend line. It's had 3 touches, right? 1, 2, 3 touches. Previously, it was in a rising channel, broke down. When this breaks down, that meant axis actually went up, right? Then it kind of was in another rising channel, broke down. Right now, it's back in another rising channel, right below that major resistance. So the odds would say it's going to break down, which means I would not want to enter it on a short token. But what I'm looking for is for it to break above this trend line, come back and retest my yellow zone of support, and then, I would enter at that point right here at around like $1.70. Now, you would time that with Bitcoin having a pullback, obviously. And so if Bitcoin pumps or, even trends sideways, odds are this wouldn't play out. But it's just something I'm tracking, especially where it had this big double bottom, or really it's a triple bottom. Axis hasn't been real strong recently, which is another reason why I've been tracking it for potential shorts opportunities. Not financial advice, but just this is the short token that I'm keeping a close eye on at the moment. Hot diggity diggity, that is all for today. If you're liking the content, please remember to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow. It's